So I welcome everyone to the financial meetings of the Lower Central Gardens Trust. I just wondered if we could start with the housekeeping notices.
Thank you, Chair. Please note that this meeting of the Lower Central Gardens Trust Board is being recorded by the Council for live broadcast and will be published on the Council's website for a minimum of 6 months. The meeting may also be recorded or streamed for live or subsequent broadcast by members of the public, although ultimate discretion in this matter lies with the Chairman in case of disruption. For those in the room, please note that if the fire alarm sounds, please exit the building by way of your nearest available signed fire exit route and make your way to the assembly point along Bradley Road under the flyover. Finally, please ensure background noise is kept to a minimum and mobile phones and other devices are turned off or switched to silent for the duration of the meeting. Thank you.
And do we have any apologies?
We haven't received any apologies for this meeting, Chair.
And are there any declarations of interest? So at this stage, is this the correct time to bring up the delegations, the change of delegations? Yeah, so there's a couple of things which we might add onto the committee in March, plus anything else that you might want to put into that as well. But a lot of the delegations are all changing within the council, so as the structures are all changing. So it's probably something that we need to discuss in March. If that's okay. Yeah. And yes, go.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Could I just comment on that? I mean, this agenda's come out. We have been asked for agenda items, but there are now other items being added to the agenda. Could we make sure that at our next meeting that we are all asked if we've got items for the agenda before it's published? Thank you.
Yes, of course. This meeting, the annual meeting, is usually just focused for the agenda item for the financial annual accounts. So we don't tend to add items, is my understanding, to this normal meeting, as has been the historic process.
That may be of what's happened, but it's not necessarily what has to happen. And if there are items to discuss at this point of the year, then I think we ought to. I mean, given that we only have two meetings a year, basically means all business for the whole year is conducted in one meeting. You know, and we have mentioned before about having additional meetings, but nothing seems to be happening with that.
Yes, sorry, I thought we were having 3 meetings a year going forward.
Yeah, so given that, I was going to add, make sure that in future meetings, all meetings had a future work plan added to the end, so there would be an opportunity for members to add on any additional items or discuss that.
And all I would say for that is that, sorry, Chair, if that's right, that you know, there's such a large gap between meetings, events occur between meetings, so you can't always say at the end of a meeting about the agenda for the subsequent meeting, because you know there's a huge gap in between, and events occur that you may wish to raise at the forthcoming meeting. But at the moment, we don't seem to have that opportunity. So all I would say is that prior to the next meeting, that members are asked through the chair if they've got any items they wish to be added to the agenda before it's actually published. Thank you.
Yeah, Councillor Barber, if I could just suggest, rather than being asked, I think it's perfectly appropriate for members of this committee to suggest items directly to the chair for consideration ahead of future meetings. I would only suggest that it be submitted in good time to allow any officers to prepare any subsequent reports.
With respect, I have done that before, and those requests were ignored. So it's a much better way to formalise it. Thank you.
Clarify. No, those requests weren't ignored this time, or was it? Or was you talking about previous times? Previously, okay. There's one other item to be added onto the March meeting, if that's okay with everyone. There was I sent out an email about this request for the sculpture. That basically would need like an officer's report around it. They're going to do that and then come back to us. Obviously, it's going to be quite a quite a sensitive subject, but they're going to be doing that. Might even be worth having a Teams meeting before the meeting. Do you think? Is everyone okay with that? Yeah. Sorry to give you extra meetings, but would that be okay?
Yes, I'll take that back with Kelly Ansell, Director of Housing and Communities, because that report will be led by her team. But I'll ask her to set that up.
Perfect. So, confirmation of the minutes. You've got 2 sets of minutes that you need to confirm. Shall we? We'll do it all in one roll, unless anyone's got anything that they specifically object to. Is everyone okay with the minutes? I wasn't there. Okay. So no objections. Yeah. Okay. And then, so I'll be signing those now. But we've got a verbal update on enforcement actions from Kate Langdon.
Thank you, Chair. This was a result of a request from the last meeting we held, where colleagues, again in Housing and Communities, reported back enforcement activities and in relation to the surroundings of the Lower Central Gardens. This is just a point of clarification, because I believe the minutes stated it involved a business that operated within the Lower Central Gardens. I can confirm that that isn't actually correct in the case. The business premises didn't fall directly within the Lower Central Gardens. The business closure, as it is in the public domain, is the Kingston Market on the Triangle. It was selling illegal vapes and cigarettes to young people, and this was having a direct impact in the summer in the Lower Central Gardens, and indeed much of the evidence to support the case was obtained within the Lower Central Gardens. So the premises was closed and the behaviour did cease. However, the closure order has expired recently, so the premises is now trading, but it's under ongoing review. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Any further comment? Okay. Should we move on to the financial statements?
Hello all. Good morning. Excuse me. So yes, I'd like to propose that the financial statements for the year ending 22-23 be reviewed by the board, which I'll go through shortly, and then they can be signed off later on this month by the leader for then onward submission to the Charities Commission. So, excuse me. So in the agenda, the public pack, page 17 of 52 is the first excuse me, the first page of the charity accounts, which detail the trustees report, the auditor's report, etc., and all the financial details. There's been a slight change in the numbers, less than £1,000 in the donation from the council, so less than a fifth of 1% of the income. So no need for you all to be concerned about the changes. I don't believe 540k to 541,000. So that's the account. Bear with me, and we'll go through the other pages. On page 41 of the 52 is the letter of representation that the auditor requested us to sign, which basically is the trustee saying to the auditor, we have provided you with all the necessary information for you to complete your audit. Page 45 of 52 is the letter from Hickson's, the auditor, and I will draw your attention to the conclusion part of in the middle of the page, second line. We anticipate that our audit opinion will be unmodified, which is what we're after, which is good, and there's no issues. Excuse me, subject to the matters detailing below. So the signed management letter, that's why that's in the pack, the statements as well. The letter of comfort, which is just after this audit report, which is signed by the Section 151 officer, and also states that there will be no subsequent events in
that should be brought forward to the attention of the, excuse me, of the auditor. And page 40, sorry, page 51 of 52 is the comfort letter signed by the section 151 officer. So they are the 4 documents that those requested by the auditor Hickson's for them to give us an unmodified opinion of the accounts. So is there anything the board would like to ask? Any questions at all?
I have one question.
Certainly, yep.
There's it's not potentially material, but there's a decrease in the amount of stock that's been held. But it's not a we're trading through concessions. So I'm just wondering what is the what is the decrease in stock or negative increase in stocks?
Stock increased from 29 on page 36 of 52. Note 14, stock went from just under 3,000 to 9,500. But that would be that's the stock in the Hedgehog Cafe.
I'm looking at page 24 with the adjustment on there. Cash flow operations.
Oh, increase in stock 6598. Yes, the cash fell because we bought more stock. In fact, that is the accounting for it. Yes.
It's page 49. It just mentions the VAT situation, that the charity should have its own separate VAT registration. Is that something that's going to be done in the future?
That I will take away with my colleagues, and that officers will have a look. We'll come back to you on that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, would that not require a separate bank account?
I honestly don't know, councillor, to be fair.
Okay.
My understanding is this, that the lower gardens have been reported like this for a number of years.
Well, they have, I know.
So
as the former chairman myself.
Yes, of course, yes. I don't know.
Okay.
I will take that away and I'll discuss it. It isn't, VAT is not my specific area within the finance, but
Okay.
I will take your query away, councillor.
Bernadette.
And it also says on this bit that there's no formal recording of the checks that are done on any cash that's received. Just seems unusual.
That was the reply from, yes, that was the reply from the service, but I believe also as well, and it's like, which isn't, yeah, that's how they do it, but also from November last year, no further cash was accepted.
Okay.
So that was an issue raised, a potential issue raised by the auditor, but
So it won't be an issue.
it sort of has gone away, yes, because it's
Great, thanks.
that's what my colleagues have told me. Thank you.
I'm gonna say anybody else? Any other queries? Okay, do we have a proposer to accept? Thank you, Lawrence. Do we have a seconder? What do we, perfect. Do we have is it unanimous? Is everyone happy to accept it?
Thank you.
that is the end of the agenda.
Do we want to agree future items to come forward to the March? And then I think at the moment we had potential provisional maybe for a summer meeting if there were items that make the March meeting too heavy. Happy to discuss those.
But I think also taking on board what Stephen was saying about, yes, we'll agree items now, but have the opportunity to add items before the March meeting.
Councillor Bartlett, if I could, obviously concerned where you said you've raised items before and they've not been taken forward, or you've not seen evidence of that work. Are you able to provide some examples just so we can make sure we do bring it forward if there is something that you feel has been missed?
Yeah, I think I can, and I can probably show the emails that I sent to various people, including Democratic Services, about it. But I'm not going to raise them again now.
Okay.
So agreeing agenda items for March. So obviously I've thrown in the change in the delegations due to the MTFP changes and sculpture. But is that at this stage, and first of all, are people happy to add those items to the March agenda? Sorry, yes, Lawrence.
Could you just run through what the agenda is for March?
At the moment, there's nothing fixed. At the moment, there'll be a general operational update and understanding if there are any budgetary impacts following the council's budget setting process, any structural changes that the units are working through, and any an update on the events programme. I would imagine, but everything else is obviously.
If it's appropriate, I would like to put the planting onto the agenda, the annual planting.
Yeah, there is no annual planting now.
That's why I want to put it on the agenda, please.
Following the finance decision, welcome discussion on it, but there is no funding for annual planting.
If we can have the discussion.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Jamie.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Obviously on the minutes, we have items that mentions the ice rink and this body wanted to have a look at things as they developed. I'm just wondering, it makes reference to, unless I missed a meeting somewhere, it does make reference, there might have been something before, some sort of discussion before January 24. And so I was just wondering where that sits in terms of how we can have a look at that.
Thank you, Chair. At the moment, there hasn't been anything to bring forward to the committee on that item. More than happy to have it on the March agenda, but I am conscious that we may need a discussion with the committee before then, in which case I would like to be able to have the opportunity to come forward and see if we could bring in an additional meeting to make sure that the committee have the chance to be fully engaged in those conversations.
Would it be possible to run that as a Teams meeting? Are people happy with that? Fine. Yeah. But would March be too late to make the decisions in respect of next Christmas?
It's unclear to say at the moment whether that would be too late. I'll have more of an idea over the next 4 to 5 weeks.
You know, one thing that has just occurred to me is the pavilion, and the extent to which some repairs are still required to it, and I'm concerned about where the funding for that is going to come from, because we don't have a reserve or anything like that to ensure that the asset of the trust is maintained. It's done by the states or buildings or whoever, but I know, you know, that sort of expenditure is significant, and you know, with the council finances as they are, you know, I'm just wondering, we need to start ensuring as a trust that money is provided for in some way to ensure that the heritage asset owned by the trust is properly maintained, because there are some significant defects on the building at the moment which are still outstanding and have been for some time. I'd just like to make sure that, you know, it's not just sort of tucked away, and it you know, we keep an eye on that. So I think that's an item that I'd like to see discussed at a future meeting.
Yeah, I think that's it's a great point. I think the contract for the pavilion, my understanding is it's a maintenance contract, so it's scrutiny, isn't it, rather than repair. Obviously, unless it comes back in a state of disrepair.
The point, I'm not sure there is a maintenance contract for it. Internally, BH Live do obviously do certain things, but the structure, the main building, is the responsibility of the council. But the thing is, the ownership of the asset, it's trust asset. We represent the interest of the trust on this board, and it's our responsibility to make sure the governance arrangements are in place to make sure those assets are maintained properly. So we can't abdicate that responsibility. It is our responsibility. So I think it needs to be discussed, if you know, just to get raise the issue.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. I just wanted to make sure I did it in the correct way, because if there's a maintenance contract, then it's the role of governance is scrutiny. If it's our property in terms of the facilitation of the maintenance, then that's a different agenda item.
Thank you, Chair. We can bring an update to that March meeting if it is an agenda item in terms of the responsibility and the progress in terms of that maintenance for the building.
The two, if for interest, I can tell you there are two specific interests, matters of concern. One is the south elevation of the building where water ingresses into the Lucia's ballroom, and the other is the roof in the Lucia's ballroom, which is also leaking. It was repaired, I think, back 2 years ago, but you know, the water's still coming in, and you know, you have functions in there, and there's buckets of water, buckets going on the dance floor, you know. So those are the two items of interest.
Thank you, Stephen. And Bernadette?
Thank you. I agree with Councillor Bartlett, because we still have residents mentioning the winter gardens and how they were left to get into disrepair until they were gone beyond help. And so we want to make sure that that doesn't happen with the pavilion, and so that the capital repairs are done and the money comes from maybe from the income from BH Life. I don't know, but it's an idea. But it really needs to be looked at. I okay, thanks.
Do you mind if I just summarise all of those potential items so that, and then you can tell me if I missed anything out. So we're looking at delegations. We're looking at the sculpture. We're looking at planting. We're looking at the pavilion, but with specific reference, I think, to the items that Stephen brought up about the roof issues, but also generally. And then we're also looking at the Winter Wonderland, Christmas, and the ice rink all in one item. Does that cover everyone's concerns?
Chair, if I could just add, we were going to clarify the VAT position as well in relation to the accounts.
And the VAT. Were we going to do all of March?
I mean, sorry. I know that was sort of 5-minute top line on 2 or 3 subjects. There's a lot to talk about, Phil, and I just wonder whether we can make sure there is sufficient time at the next meeting to prepare and cover them in some depth, because there's subjects that seem to reoccur, get touched on, and never quite got resolved. So I wonder if we can, with respect to any other things that might be on the agenda, to concentrate the minds on those 2 really important subjects. We think of the pavilion and the ice rink and planting. Sorry, 3. So, otherwise, I wonder whether we'll do them justice.
Those are the 3 main issues on that are there, because the sculpture and the delegations and the VAT aren't going to take very long.
So mainly, what I'm suggesting is there may be more to come in the interim.
So we might just have to work harder.
With the delegations, I can always, we will seek to circulate in advance of the meeting. So hopefully that item shouldn't take too much time. If we can get comments from you in advance, if that helps, so that we can focus on the other 3 items that you raised.
So, so basically, are we all in agreement? We're looking at the, as per the previous list, the delegation sculptures, the planting, the pavilion with specific look at the leaky roof, the Winter Wonderland Christmas ice rink, the VAT, and we need so there's one other. Yeah, and we need a date for the next meeting. I can't see one in there. I can't. It's not been added by the, no.
The programme meetings approved by council was from May onwards, so there doesn't appear to be a scheduled meeting before then.
So do you want to, are you going to be able to circulate today, or should we, are we able to, because I've got to work with the officers, isn't it?
I'm happy to coordinate with the officers and yourselves to agree on a date.
Yeah. Is everyone okay with that?
Yep.
Yep. To close the meeting. Yep. Thank you, everyone. Nice and quick. 20